Hello and welcome to this latest edition of Bulls on Parade Talk. I am your host, Joshua Sines, and um, today was press day at the NFL Scouting Combine. You know, we had biggest story coming out of the news is all the measurements of the quarterbacks. You know, everyone spoke at at press conferences. You've had it was basically media day at the combine today, particularly for quarterbacks and certain head coach and pretty much all the head coaches. But I want to take this time to focus on something that I heard from Bill O'Brien and Rick Smith's press conference, and that is when they talked about the evaluation process of these guys. Of all these different prospects, you know, they all share the same sentiments about very talented, a lot of underclassmen, and basically all the facts that we already know about this draft class. But they mentioned also that we're only a month and a half into this process, so there's no. So it's not like they immediately know who they want now. No, of course not. It's way too early to say, okay, the Texans are going to pick this guy. No, Texans are going to pick this guy. All we're doing right now is we're saying we want this guy. We want this guy. We want this guy. We want this guy. It's still pretty early. Rick Smith and Bill O'Brien said that this draft, very talented and very deep. Even some analysts have said that this is one of the deepest classes they have seen in years. And of course, with 98 underclassmen, you could obviously see it's probably going to be one of the most underdeveloped. Rick Smith has said he is open to trading the number one pick. And Bill O'Brien has said he is willing to take an undersized quarterback if it's the best option out there. Now, that leads me to what this episode is about. Best option available. There is no favorite in this draft, but what I take away from what Bill O'Brien and Rick Smith have said, 3 words. Best option available. Rick Smith said in his press conference at the combine, he's acknowledged that the Texans will consider need when making their decision about Matt Schaub, who was benched, Case Keenum, who was promoted after being a third stringer. While we need a long-time starter right now, they have said that we will ultimately pick the best player that's on the board. They said they will consider need. Consider need. They're not going to put what I take from that is they will use that and say, okay, while we do need a guy, but we're not going to value him over this guy because we need him, because we need this position more than this more talented guy. Rick Smith said here, quote, I got a quote in here in front of you. He says, quote, "You value your board based on really what the football characteristics and potential is for the player. A lot of it is the projection, and a lot of it is risk assessment." He continues, he says, quote, "If you're in a situation where your pick is there, and you've got 2 players who are essentially rated at the same value point, and if one of them is a position of need, and you've got an opportunity to take that guy, then you've hit the home run. When you take players that aren't valued at the point that you take them because they fit a need, ultimately, where that gets you is on the back end, where you miss an opportunity to get another good player at a different position that's maybe a little bit better football player. That tells me everything I need to know. That is exactly what I have said in an earlier episode when I talk about need versus talent. And that's the one thing I worry about this draft class. 98 underclassmen. I believe it's going to take some time for these young guys to come into the league and actually actually do well. It's going to take some time for these kids. But I believe that a lot of these guys are going to be overvalued. And it's going to end up ruining their career. Perfect example that was brought up today is Michael Vick. Michael Vick, undersized, I believe measured at 6 feet. But, he was very electrifying. He was known for his running. Was taken number 1 overall by Atlanta. And, has shown flashes, but, has not stayed healthy consistently. That's the biggest knock on him. And so that's the one thing I do worry about when it comes to these, specifically Johnny Manziel. And I think Michael Vick is the only undersized quarterback, quote unquote, undersized quarterback, measured at 6 even, that was taken at the top of the draft in the modern era, in the modern draft era, quote, so to speak. I worry quite a bit about these guys. So, again, it goes back to what I said in an earlier episode, need versus talent. You can go watch that video. That's on my channel. But I'm not denying the talent in this class. This is a very deep draft class. I've taken the liberty of going back and actually studying a lot of these guys, and there's a lot of talent. While they may not, while they're not all first round talent, there is some underrated prospects. Perfect example, a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo. I went back and I watched his tape. The guy is very impressive. The quarterback out of Eastern Illinois. He is very impressive in terms of the way he throws the football. Now, albeit he came out of a spread, he came out of a no-huddle system. But you look at his throws, but I watch the way he throws, the way he stands in the pocket, the way he commands that offense, and I'm like, that's an NFL. That to me looks like an NFL throw. And who knows if the Texans decide to take a guy like Jadeveon Clowney, number 1 overall, and take a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo or A.J. McCarron in the top of the second round, I would have no problem with something like that. But I love, and I have to emphasize an emphasis on the word love, what O'Brien and Rick Smith basically have said at the Combine earlier today. They are not gonna overvalue a guy just because you need him. I love that. It is exactly the kind of mentality that gets you going long term. That gets your franchise set long term. And that is why now, if they believe that Johnny Manziel's the best talent out there, the best available option, then go for it. Go for it. That is up to them. I would not take him. I am on record saying Jadeveon Clowney is the best talented player, the best option out there right now. So, but like I said, that is not for me to decide. This is just opinion. This is just my opinion based on what I've seen from players that I have looked at, that I have seen, that I have watched, yada, and all that jazz. So like I said, still early in this process. There's no clear-cut favorite. Both Rick Smith and Bill O'Brien have acknowledged this is a deep class, a lot of potential out there. So we'll see. I mean, Combine is still this weekend. You can bet I'm going to be here covering that watching these workouts, watching these 40s, watching these drills. Now, apparently, just to give you guys a little information, Teddy Bridgewater has not made up his mind yet about throwing at the combine. Just thought I'd put that out there. The only guy I know for a fact who is going to throw is Blake Bortles. I know for a fact is Blake Bortles. Now, I would love to see... Now, everyone has said that it's not a big deal. Sure, it's not a big deal. People have said that it sometimes gets you into trouble because, you know, you're being thrown into a situation with receivers that you haven't played with. You know, my response to that is, don't you do that anyway when you enter the NFL? Isn't that what you're asked to do? You're asked to immediately establish chemistry. I would treat it like a practice. You don't practice with these guys, true, but at the same time, it is the NFL. You're going to be moving from, you're going to have like different coordinators, different head coaches. You're going to be going, some of these guys might go from team to team and have to reestablish chemistry. While I can understand that not throwing at the combine is not a big deal, I still think it wouldn't hurt. You know, because you still have your pro day. You still have your pro day and your individual workouts to go out and prove it, to go out and show these teams what you can do. But, so no overall favorite, no clear-cut favorite, talented group. Still early in the process. Need will not overdo talent. Need will not overvalue, but need will not come first. It will be considered, but it will not come first. That is the message that I take away from today's press. From today's press conferences by Rick Smith and Bill O'Brien. So, that about wraps things up here on this edition of Bulls on Parade Talk. I thank you also very much for tuning in. If you enjoyed, please leave a like on this YouTube video. I'd appreciate it very much. In the comment section below, tell me what you guys thought about the comments made by Bill O'Brien and Rick Smith. You know, do you think they're doing the right thing by saying, okay, we're going to consider need, but talent is going to be looked at first before a need? Do you think that's the best way to go? And based on that, who do you think we're going to get? Based on the comments that they made, who do you think we're going to get? Do you think we're going to trade the first pick? Do you think we're going to take someone with the first pick? Tell me what you guys think in the comments section. I'd love to hear from you guys. For more Houston Texans coverage provided by yours truly, go ahead and subscribe to this YouTube channel. I'll be here covering all the latest regarding your Houston Texans all year long. And finally, please be sure to check out and follow my Bulls on Parade Talk podcast on TalkShoe.com if you haven't already. The full link to that podcast will be in the description below this video for those that are watching on YouTube. Also, to those that are listening on the podcast, the full link to this YouTube video will be on this episode's info section on the podcast website. Again, if you have any kind of questions or concerns regarding anything, whether it's Texans, YouTube, or podcast related, go ahead and send me a message. I'll do my absolute best to reply as soon as possible. As always, this is your host, Joshua Signs, signing off.